Before we start, take a moment and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy discovering hidden treasures in everyday pocket change and learning about coins that might be sitting quietly in old drawers, jars, or forgotten boxes, then subscribe now and stay with us. Many people around the world have already discovered that ordinary-looking coins can sometimes hold extraordinary stories and surprising value. Today we are looking at a coin that many people have seen, many people have spent without a second thought, and yet a few collectors quietly search for it every single day. The South Africa 10-cent coin from 1983. Now imagine this for a moment. It is the early 1980s. South Africa is going through a complicated time in its history, and coins are being produced in large numbers to keep everyday commerce moving. Among those coins is a small 10-cent piece dated 1983. At first glance, it looks simple. It is not made of gold, it is not shining like silver, and it certainly does not look like something that could ever attract the attention of serious collectors. For most people, it was just small change. But here is the interesting part. Time changes the meaning of objects. What once passed through millions of hands without any attention can, decades later, become something collectors begin searching for. Coins tell stories about the time they were made, the technology used to produce them, and sometimes even the mistakes that occurred during minting. And when collectors begin to notice these details, that is when the ordinary can slowly become extraordinary. The 1983 South African 10-cent coin carries the image of the arum lily, a plant that many people in South Africa recognize instantly. The design is simple but elegant. The coin itself was produced from copper-plated steel, giving it a modest appearance. Most of these coins circulated heavily in markets, shops, and everyday transactions. They were handled, scratched, dropped, and forgotten. Because of this, finding one today in excellent condition is not as common as you might expect. Collectors, especially those who have spent decades studying coins, know that condition is everything. A coin that has survived without heavy scratches, with clear details and original shine, can attract far more attention than a worn piece. Older collectors often say that a coin is like a time capsule. When you hold a well-preserved piece from decades ago, you are holding a small piece of history exactly as it was when it left the mint, but condition is only one part of the story. The real excitement in coin collecting often comes from something unexpected, minting variations and errors. During the process of producing coins, machines strike metal blanks thousands of times each hour. Occasionally something goes wrong. The metal may shift slightly, a die may be misaligned, or a planchet may have a defect. When this happens, the coin produced can be different from the standard version. To most people, these differences might look like small imperfections. But to experienced collectors, they are clues. Some of the most valuable coins in the world became famous not because they were supposed to be rare, but because something unusual happened during their creation. A small mistake inside a mint can transform an ordinary coin into something collectors will search for across the globe. The 1983 10-cent coin has quietly built interest among certain collectors who study South African coinage. Over the years, stories have circulated about unusual examples appearing with striking differences, misalignments, or rare preservation levels. Many older collectors enjoy the thrill of checking old jars of coins, hoping to discover one that stands out from the rest. Think about how many homes still have small containers filled with coins collected over decades. Perhaps they were saved by a father, a grandfather, or even forgotten after a move. Inside those containers could be coins from the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, sitting quietly for years. Most of them are ordinary, but every now and then someone discovers a piece that sparks curiosity. This is why collectors often encourage people not to ignore small denomination coins. A coin that once bought a piece of candy or a bus ride could later become a collectible item. The passage of time changes supply. Coins get lost, damaged, melted, or simply disappear from circulation. The number of surviving pieces slowly becomes smaller. Older collectors, especially men who grew up handling coins in everyday transactions, often feel a deep sense of nostalgia when they rediscover coins like the 1983 10 cents. Holding it again brings back memories of markets, shops, and a different era of life. That emotional connection is part of what keeps coin collecting alive across generations. Another fascinating aspect is how collectors examine coins carefully under magnification. They look at the edges, the lettering, the sharpness of the design, and even the color of the metal. Small details can reveal whether a coin is common or something much more unusual. Sometimes a tiny variation that most people would never notice becomes the key factor that increases interest among collectors. And here is where the story becomes truly intriguing. While the majority of 1983 10-cent coins are only worth a small amount above face value, rare examples with exceptional condition or unusual mint characteristics can attract serious attention from collectors who specialize in South African coinage. In the world of numismatics, rarity combined with collector demand can push prices far beyond what most people expect. Collectors around the world have seen coins that once seemed ordinary suddenly become highly desirable. Auctions sometimes reveal surprising results when two determined collectors compete for the same rare piece. When that happens, the price can rise far beyond what anyone predicted. This is why experienced collectors always say the same thing. Never assume a coin is worthless until it has been carefully examined. A coin that looks simple could still carry a story that collectors are willing to pay for. So, if you ever come across a 1983 South Africa 10 cents coin, do not rush to spend it or throw it back into a jar without a second look. Check the condition. Look for unusual details. Compare it with other examples. The difference between an ordinary coin and a collectible one can sometimes be surprisingly small. And now for the question many people ask. What could this coin actually be worth? In most everyday cases, a circulated 1983 South African 10 cents coin might only be worth a small collector value, sometimes just a few dollars depending on its condition. But in the rare situation where a coin appears in exceptional mint condition or displays a unique minting error that collectors find fascinating, its value can rise dramatically. Stories in the coin collecting world often circulate about rare pieces reaching astonishing numbers when the right buyer meets the right coin. Under extraordinary circumstances, rare coins with unusual characteristics have reached values that collectors describe in the millions. Before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you love rare coins, hidden treasures, and stories that connect the past to the present, this is the place for you. Subscribing helps you stay updated with every fascinating discovery we uncover together. Now, let's begin. Picture this. The year is 1980. The world is in the middle of change. Technology is growing. Politics are shifting. And deep in the southern part of Africa, a small, shining coin rolls off the mint presses. 10 cents. Just a simple coin, right? Most people wouldn't give it a second look. They'd toss it in their pockets, use it for gum, or leave it on a counter. But sometimes, history hides its greatest stories in the smallest things. Now, imagine this coin, small, silver, light in your hand, but with a history that runs deeper than its size. The South African 10 cents coin of 1980 isn't just another piece of currency. It carries the weight of a nation, a moment in time frozen in metal. And if you've ever held one, you know the feeling. The faint chill of nickel, the texture of its rim, and that crisp image that still catches the light, even decades later. On one side, it bears the proud springbok, South Africa's national symbol of grace and endurance. To some, it's just an animal. To others, it's a mark of heritage, resilience, and survival through turbulent times. That image connects every South African who ever carried this coin in their pockets, whether they were rich or poor, young or old. And on the other side, the emblem of the Republic, a statement of identity during a time when the world's eyes were fixed on the country for reasons both political and personal. For those of you watching who remember the 1980s, you'll recall the world was very different. You might have been in your 20s, maybe just starting out, building a life, working hard, saving a few coins like this one without realizing that one day, they might become treasures. That's the beauty of time. What's ordinary today can become extraordinary tomorrow. Now, the interesting part. Not all 1980 South Africa 10-cent coins are the same. Millions were minted, yes, but only a few survived in pristine, untouched condition, the kind collectors dream of. You see, coins like this weren't made to be saved. They were made to circulate, to trade hands, to live a life of wear and tear. But every once in a while, one coin escapes that fate. One coin remains perfect, sharp in detail, unmarked by time. That's where the magic begins. Coin collectors call this state mint condition. It means the coin looks exactly as it did the day it left the press. No scratches, no dents, just flawless metal. And if that coin happens to be from a year or a mint batch with an error, a rarity, or a historical twist, its value can skyrocket beyond belief. That's the kind of story that turns an old drawer discovery into a life-changing fortune. And maybe you've got one. Maybe there's an old tin in your garage, a jar on your shelf, or a forgotten coin book from your younger days. You might have flipped through those coins once or twice, thinking they were worth only a few cents. But what if one of those coins, sitting quietly for 45 years, holds a secret worth millions? Let's go deeper into why the 1980 10-cent coin matters. During that time, South Africa's mint was transitioning its metal compositions, and subtle variations appeared between different production runs. Some had slightly off-center strikes. Some carried faint die errors, tiny imperfections in the design that went unnoticed by the naked eye. And some, believe it or not, were part of limited proof sets given only to select officials and collectors. These rare proof versions were struck with polished dies, giving them a mirror-like shine and depth you could see your reflection in. Those few proof coins, when discovered today, send waves through the collector community. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying stories, history, and rarity. And that's exactly why this 1980 10-cent coin can command unbelievable prices. To the untrained eye, it's just a coin. To the trained collector, it's a once-in-a-lifetime find. Imagine finding one in a family collection, brushing off the dust, and realizing that what you've been holding all these years is not just a memory, but a masterpiece. A tiny time capsule from 1980 that has survived every storm since. Unchanged, untarnished, and now, unimaginably valuable. For men who grew up in the era when coins like these were common, this story hits close to home. It reminds us that time itself can turn the smallest things into legacies. We might age, the world might change, but the metal holds its story forever. That's the beauty of collecting. It's not about wealth, it's about connection, about remembering where we came from and passing that history forward. Think about it. Every coin tells a story. Someone earned it, spent it, saved it. Maybe it passed through the hands of a miner, a farmer, a young student, or a soldier. Every scratch, every mark adds a layer of history. And when one of those coins manages to survive without a single mark, it's like freezing a perfect moment from the past. Today, collectors around the world are hunting for that perfect 1980 South Africa 10-cent coin. And when one surfaces, the right mint, the right strike, and in flawless condition, the bidding wars begin. What starts as a quiet auction room quickly turns into a storm of excitement, as every collector in the room knows exactly what's at stake. And here's where the story takes an incredible turn. Recently, one of these rare 1980 South Africa 10-cent coins was verified by experts and sold at a record-breaking price, a figure that left even seasoned collectors speechless. $8 million. Yes, you heard that right. $8 million for a 10-cent coin. A simple piece of metal, smaller than a thumb, once used for everyday trade, now worth more than mansions, cars, and collections combined. It's hard to believe, isn't it? But that's the magic of rarity, history, and perfection coming together. So, before you toss aside those old coins, take a moment. Look closely. There could be history in your hands, and maybe, just maybe, a fortune waiting to be found. That if you enjoyed this story and want more like it, make sure to subscribe, because every week we uncover more forgotten treasures, untold stories, and rare finds from around the world. Who knows? The next story might be about your coin, your discovery, your legacy.